got a few punches, and he probably drunk about 20 shots of piss. You know what I mean? Literally.
They was not scared of Suge Knight. They was terrified of Suge Knight.
In the world of hip-hop, there was a man whose name was never spoken without fear. A man who spread terror in every place he went.
I've never seen anybody have the kind of fear that they had for Suge. He came, it was like, Suge's outside! Suge's outside! Everybody like, he was running, dropping.
He wasn't just a producer or a record label executive. He was a legend forged by the harsh streets, shaped by the gangs of Los Angeles in the fires of violence and loyalty. He built Death Row Records, the greatest empire in hip-hop during the 1990s, opening the gates of fame for stars who changed music forever. But behind the lights, there was another world. A world filled with betrayal, conspiracies, violence, and rivalries that stretched from the neighborhoods of Compton to the streets of New York. This is the story of the man who changed hip-hop forever. In the heart of Compton, California, a city that in the 1980s became infamous for gangs, drug deals, and gunfire echoing through the streets, a child was born who would later become one of the most controversial figures in music history. His name? Marion Suge Knight. Born in 1965, in a modest home, in a neighborhood that knew no mercy. From childhood, Suge stood taller and stronger than his peers. He excelled in American football, a talent that gave him a chance, if only briefly, to escape the chaotic streets of Compton. But escaping the streets was never easy. Compton wasn't just a place, it was a way of life. The gangs controlled every corner, and every kid knew that choosing between staying on the sidelines or stepping into their world was only a matter of time. After graduating from high school, Suge earned an athletic scholarship to play football at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. His dream was to go pro. He wasn't just another player on the football field. Suge was known for his violent style of play. He didn't just tackle opponents. He tried to break them physically. He took pleasure in brutal collisions. And he loved leaving a painful mark on anyone who stood in his way. That aggressive spirit on the field was a reflection of his true character, one that would follow him through every stage of his life. Suge returned to Los Angeles, where he began working as a bodyguard for various artists and athletes. During this time, he became the personal bodyguard for the famous rapper Bobby Brown. His work as a bodyguard exposed him to the hidden side of the celebrity world. The contracts, the money, the influence, and above all, the power. And Suge was not the kind of man content with standing on the sidelines. He began to study how the business worked behind the scenes, and how record companies controlled the fate of their artists. During his time as Bobby Brown's bodyguard, Suge Knight faced his first serious run-in with the law. He was arrested after a violent assault on his girlfriend, tying her up and forcibly cutting her hair. Sentenced to 6 months behind bars, it was his first taste of prison. But his release didn't mark the end of the violence. It was the beginning of a new path. Using what remained of his reputation and his connections in the music world, Suge transformed himself from just a bodyguard into a key player in the music industry. After his release from prison, Suge began looking for fast ways to seize control of the music world. One of the most notorious stories reported in the press at the time was his confrontation with rapper Vanilla Ice. At a hotel in California, Suge Knight stormed into Ice's room and stood before him coldly, demanding alleged financial rights. It's said that he threatened to throw him off the balcony of the upper floor room unless Ice signed over a waiver in his favor. The incident cemented Suge Knight's image as a man who didn't negotiate with words,
Suge took me out on the balcony, started talking to me personally. On the balcony, high above, like 15 floors. He had me look over the edge, show me how high I was up there.
You scared?
I needed to wear a diaper on that day. I was very scared.
After the balcony incident with Vanilla Ice, the balance of power in the music industry shifted in Suge Knight's favor. he became a man to be reckoned with. Even those who had previously ignored his calls or delayed responding suddenly found themselves returning his calls immediately, afraid of the consequences. Suge Knight secured a substantial sum from Vanilla Ice as compensation or a waiver of rights, and he wisely invested that money in preparing to launch his own company, Death Row Records.
It's Easy E and NWA, and we cooling out here at this party, right? How you know? Having a ball.
Big Compton's in the house.
Know that.
In the late 1980s, NWA stormed the rap scene with force, becoming the boldest and most controversial voice in America. Their violent lyrics and shocking imagery captured the attention of both the media and the public. But behind this success, there was another secret. The true power of the group didn't lie solely in their lyrics, but in the beats and rhythms crafted by one man, Dr. Dre.
I'm the type of person I can get anybody in the studio and make a hit record off of them. If they have any kind of talent, I can pull it out of them.
Suge Knight knew that any company he aimed to build wouldn't carry real weight without a major name leading it musically. From the start, he saw the right man as Dr. Dre, the producer who had made waves within NWA and proven that his talent could shape the future of hip-hop. So Suge began planning, searching for the perfect way to pull Dre from his old environment and make him the cornerstone of his new venture. After Ice Cube left NWA over disputes about money and contracts, Dr. Dre began to grow frustrated with his own situation at Ruthless Records. His contract restricted his artistic freedom and denied him a fair share of the profits. It was then that Dre made a bold decision. He turned to Suge Knight, a man known for his ruthlessness and ability to get what he wanted, to find a way out of that contract.
Dre wanted me to go through his contracts. So I went to talk to Jerry and him. I said, listen, anything he signs, he entitled to have a copy of it. They kept telling Dre he cannot get his contract.
Suge Knight didn't rely on lawyers or formal negotiations. He decided to handle things his own way. He first went to the office of Jerry Heller, NWA's manager, laying down a strict ultimatum: release Dre from his contract or face consequences he wouldn't want. After this confrontation, Suge didn't stop there. He went straight to Eazy-E himself, presenting the new reality and securing his signature on the waiver that would free Dr. Dre. With this direct and assertive approach, Suge cleared the path for Dre to embark on his new venture, marking the beginning of Death Row Records.
A piece of paper without saying anything else about what's on it, and says, later said, under severe psychological duress, he signs the releases.
Eazy-E was far from pleased with the waiver, and his anger towards Suge Knight grew quickly. According to sources, he began contemplating revenge, even the possibility of killing Suge, as feelings of betrayal and fury consumed him.
Suge tried to destroy my record company with the help of others, Dre. So right now we're getting everything back together and we finna come out, fully loaded.
He was aggressive and he really seemed like a go-getter to me, you know what I'm saying? And he was making things happen. That's all I really care about, was getting in the studio making music. If you're gonna help me with that, so be it, let's keep it moving.
After Suge Knight freed Dre from his contract, he didn't waste any time. He saw that the team needed a new star to complete the picture and lead the company to success. Together, Dre and Suge reached out to Snoop Dogg, the talented young artist from Compton, inviting him to join their new venture. Their goal was clear: assemble the best of the West Coast and launch a new era of hip-hop under the banner of Death Row Records.
Warren G called me on the three-way, was like, Snoop, I got Dre on the phone, cuz he liked the tape. He wanna work with us, cuz he wanna work with us. I said, nigga, stop lying. And he said, hello? I said, who this? He said, it's Dre. He said, man, that shit was dope, man. I wanna get with you. Come to the studio Monday.
Dr. Dre released his groundbreaking album, The Chronic, firmly imprinting his mark on West Coast hip-hop. A year later, it was Snoop Dogg's turn. His album Doggy Style debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, selling 86,000 copies in its first week alone, setting records as the highest-selling debut for a new artist and the fastest-selling album in history at the time. Meanwhile, the East Coast was making its move. Biggie released Ready to Die under Bad Boy Records, becoming the talk of the nation. This East Coast success infuriated Suge Knight and fueled his sense of challenge and competition. One dark night in Los Angeles, a shocking and unexpected event occurred when one of Snoop Dogg's bodyguards became involved in a fatal incident while on duty. Snoop was suddenly arrested due to his direct connection to the case and faced the possibility of a lengthy prison sentence. Suge Knight acted swiftly, using his power and influence to post bail and secure Snoop's release, sending a clear message: no one would stand in the way of him or his company, Death Row Records.
I took him because I knew one thing. For me to make this dude the most hottest artist in the world, people gotta see him. So I know we taking up his chance, but at the same time, it's his job to be an artist and promote this stuff. And then when they come to arrest him, it's my job to get him out of there.
I'm the future of Black America.
In 1995, Tupac Shakur was facing one of the toughest periods of his life, having been arrested on multiple charges, including robbery and assault. He spent time behind bars, with his legal situation extremely precarious, especially after a previous shooting incident that made him feel his career and personal life were on the line. It was at this moment that Suge Knight stepped in, not just as a businessman, but as a protector and advisor, posting his bail and securing his release. Upon his release, Tupac felt grateful, but he was more than just thankful. He used the opportunity to unite his forces against his bitter East Coast rival, Biggie Smalls. He enlisted Suge Knight's full support, not just as a friend, but as an ally in the artistic and personal battle that would later become the East Coast-West Coast feud. Tupac began recording his albums under the Death Row Records banner, redefining hip-hop and cementing his status as an unforgettable icon.
I'd like to tell Tupac to keep his guards up. We ride with him. Any artists out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star and don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos, all on the records, dancing. Come to Death Row.
Before joining Death Row Records, Tupac Shakur was known for his rebellious voice against social injustice and for songs that addressed societal issues such as poverty, racial discrimination, and the struggles of youth in marginalized neighborhoods. But after his release from prison and his alliance with Suge Knight, many began to notice a shift in his personality and artistic style. It was said that Suge Knight had a direct influence on him, introducing Tupac to a world of heightened violence and conflict. Tupac no longer just sang about social issues. He openly targeted his rivals, participating in the escalating verbal battles and feuds between the East and West Coasts. This transformation sharpened his image and amplified his power, but it also drew him into a dangerous cycle of violence and revenge, far removed from the themes of his early music. Over time, conditions within Death Row Records began to deteriorate day by day. The environment was no longer a creative space. It had become an arena filled with fear and tension. Dre openly expressed his frustration with this charged atmosphere. Nate Dogg, so far as to carry a gun at all times in the studio and wear a bulletproof vest, no longer trusting those around him. The company that had been built to become a musical empire had turned into a place ruled by suspicion and violence.
One night inside the studio, Suge Knight walked in to find a young singer, invited there by Dr. Dre, using his personal phone. But this phone was no ordinary device to Suge. It was his lifeline to a close friend in prison. Furious, Suge approached and ordered him to put the phone down. The young man, however, dared to reply, "And who are you, anyway?" In that moment, Suge pulled out his gun, pointing it directly at him. He then forced the young man to strip in front of everyone, shocking the entire room. But he didn't stop there. Suge assaulted the young man and his brother, seizing their driver's licenses as well.
Anytime it was something aggressive, it was definitely for a reason. Bandit Brothers, and they was punking everybody at the studio. I had to show those guys how to respect people.
After a series of violent incidents inside the studio and rumors about Suge Knight's relationship with Dre's girlfriend, things reached a breaking point. Dre felt that the environment within Death Row had become unbearable. He made the decision to walk away for good, even if it meant leaving with nothing. No money, no rights.
I said, Jimmy, when you want him, he can go with you, but he just leave with the shirt on his back. At the end of the day, everybody knows Dre's a hump.
It was a shocking move, but for Dre, it was the only way to protect himself and his future. As for Tupac, he welcomed the news with relief. Dre's departure gave him the space to shine as the company's sole star, solidifying himself as the strongest voice of Death Row Records during that era. At one of Death Row's private parties, while Suge Knight and Tupac were at the height of their feud with the East Coast camp, a shocking incident unfolded. It was discovered that one of the attendees was affiliated with Bad Boy Records. Suge and Tupac reportedly pressured him for information about Puff Daddy's movements. What began as an interrogation quickly escalated into a brutal assault that nearly cost the man his life.
He might have got a few punches, and he probably drunk about 20 shots of piss. You know what I mean? Literally.
A chilling reminder of the extremes Suge would go to in asserting dominance. At the height of the conflict between Death Row and Bad Boy Records, Tupac escalated the feud like never before. He released his infamous track Hit 'Em Up, a direct assault on Biggie and the Bad Boy crew, delivered with fiery lyrics unlike anything the rap world had ever witnessed before. After Mike Tyson's famous fight in Las Vegas in 1996, Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur attended the arena to watch the match. When the fight ended and they were making their way out, they crossed paths with Orlando Anderson, a member of the South Side Crips gang who had previously been involved in robbing one of Tupac's relatives. Fueled by anger and impulse, Tupac lunged at Anderson and began attacking him, joined by several members of Death Row. That violent brawl inside the casino was not just a fleeting moment of rage. It was the spark that ignited an already volatile feud with the Las Vegas gangs. Just hours later, on that very same night, Tupac Shakur was gunned down in a mysterious drive-by shooting while riding in a car driven by Suge Knight. It was the beginning of one of the most enigmatic and controversial cases in hip-hop history.
I'm driving, telling him I'm going to get to the hospital, kick back. Pac looked at me and said, you know what? You need the doctor more than me. You the one shot in your head. And we laughed the whole time going to find our way to the hospital.
Suge Knight himself was struck by a bullet to the head, but it was only superficial, failing to penetrate his skull. Despite the bleeding, he insisted on driving, desperately trying to save Tupac's life. Their car had also been hit, one of its tires blown out, making the drive even more difficult. Yet, through the chaos and confusion, Suge managed to get the vehicle to the hospital as fast as possible in a desperate attempt to keep Tupac alive.
Tupac was looking to leave Death Row Records. Is that true?
Tupac loved Death Row. Tupac loved me, I loved him. I mean, Tupac took Death Row to the next level.
After the events of Las Vegas in 1996, surveillance cameras inside the casino revealed Suge Knight's involvement in the assault on Orlando Anderson just hours before Tupac was gunned down. Because this incident violated the terms of his parole, Suge was later arrested and sent back to prison at a time when Death Row was collapsing and Tupac lay between life and death. Shortly after Suge Knight was sent back to prison, the music world was shaken once again, this time by the murder of Notorious B.I.G. in Los Angeles in 1996. Many believed it was no coincidence, suspecting that Suge Knight may have orchestrated the hit through men connected to Death Row, an act of revenge for his friend Tupac. Though the investigations never proved this conclusively, the finger of blame continued to point towards Suge, reinforcing his image as a man pulling the strings, even from behind bars. In 1997, after years of massive success under death row, Snoop Dogg began to feel that staying under Suge Knight's control was no longer in his best interest. The chaos and violence surrounding the label, combined with Tupac's absence and Sug's imprisonment, pushed him to look for a way out.
The word I get was, it wasn't from him, but the word they got back to me, bitch ass nigga.
Snoop knew that his talent alone was enough to keep him a major star, but he no longer trusted the environment inside death row. He began planning his departure, seeking a place that would offer him safety and artistic freedom, far from Suge Knight's grip.
Whenever I speak on death row, it brings back bad vibes, and I don't really like dwelling on it.
When Snoop Dogg decided to leave death row, Master P contacted Suge Knight in prison and paid him $3.5 million to secure Snoop's release. Through this deal, Snoop moved to No Limit Records and began a new chapter, far from the chaos of death row.
And through the grace of God, Master P put a deal together which was, suitable for Mr. Knight.
Some artists knew him, but like Pac and Snoop at the end hated each other. And you could tell that by the simple fact that when Snoop did Dogfather, Pac was not on that one song. And Pac didn't like Dre. That would change the death row camp because of the jealousy of Tupac. Because Tupac was all of a sudden now, he's this major star, he getting all the light, he getting all the attention.
After years of death row's collapse, Dre signed with Eminem, launching a new chapter full of success. When Suge Knight was released from prison, he made it his mission to destroy Dre's life and the lives of those around him. In 2001, while Dre was preparing to release a new edition of his iconic album The Chronic, Suge released an album with the same name, deliberately to provoke him. He didn't stop there. He later attempted to lure Eminem away from Dre in a desperate effort to regain the influence he had lost.
I've never seen anybody have the kind of fear that they had for Suge. He came, it was like, Suge's outside! Suge's outside! Everybody like, he was running, dropping.
In a later interview, Suge Knight shocked everyone by speaking cryptically about Eazy-E. The way he spoke led many to believe that he might have had a hand in Eazy-E's death, opening the door to widespread suspicion and controversy surrounding him.
They get blood from somebody with AIDS, and then they shoot you with it.
Oh, so that seems bad.
That's a slow death.
Yeah.
An easy thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay.
In the years following death row's collapse, Suge Knight faced severe financial crises, forcing him to file for bankruptcy to settle his mounting debts. In 2014, he returned once again to the center of controversy when he was arrested for slapping a reporter during a press conference, reigniting the legal troubles that had long marked his turbulent career.
I'm not taking a picture. I wasn't taking a picture.
After his release from prison, Suge Knight attended a Chris Brown concert where he was shot 6 times, sustaining serious injuries. The identity of the attacker was not immediately known, but Suge blamed Dre, sparking widespread controversy over the escalation of old conflicts and rivalries with his former partners. When the film Straight Outta Compton was released, Suge Knight's portrayal sparked widespread controversy. The film depicted him as the villain in the story of NWA's formation, a portrayal he strongly disliked. Suge demanded that his character be removed or altered, but the producers refused, leaving his image in the film unchanged. This only intensified his anger and resentment over the way he was represented on screen. At that moment, Suge unleashed his anger directly, saying, "I'll meet you in person. You have kids like me, and you've chosen the hard way." These words were a clear threat, once again demonstrating Suge's method of asserting his will and intimidating those around him. Later, Suge Knight confronted the producer on the film set, and in a tragic incident, deliberately struck him with his large vehicle, killing him instantly. The event shocked the world and further cemented Suge Knight's reputation as a symbol of violence and danger, both within the music industry and beyond. After this tragedy, Suge Knight turned himself into the police. He was tried and sentenced to 28 years in prison. Thus ends the story of Suge Knight, the man who shaped a part of hip-hop history in controversial and violent ways. If you enjoyed this video, we invite you to subscribe to the channel to support us. This is our first production, and we hope to bring you more exciting videos soon.